Very good morning to you all. I am Dr.N.Rajasree, Assistant Professor of Economics, Pingil Government College for Women, Vadapalli, Warangal. In today's class, you are going to learn about the industrial finance. What is this industrial finance? Why finance is required for industrial development? That is, what are the sources you are going to learn? Okay. So in order to develop the economy, suppose take the can take that Indian economy. In our it is a mixed economy. Okay, the public and the private sector's role is there in this. Okay, how many sectors we have? Agriculture sector, industrial sector, and the service sector. So all the three sectors plays a very important role in order to develop our economy. So if only the dependence is there on agriculture sector, the people, then we cannot develop our economy. So the dependence, a shift has to take place from agriculture to industry and from industry to service sector. Okay. So for development of industries, you want to establish an industry, how the people there will establish the industry. It's not an easy thing. In various industrial policies also, they gave importance to development of industries. So the finance plays a very important role to develop the industries. We want to establish a small scale industry. We want to establish a large scale industry. The large scale industries will develop. The government will develop the large scale. Huge investment is required to develop the large scale industries. Who has to undertake? The government has to take a step to establish those industries. Whereas small scale industries, during British rule, they didn't give any importance to small scale industries. They don't want to develop the small scale industries. Okay. Later, they gave importance to small scale. The cottage industries were there, but only just huge concentration. That Bokaro and iron and steel industries, Tata, all the industries at various places, Jamshedpur, Tata, in various large scale industries during third plans, they gave much importance to that. Okay, fine. Now, to develop the industries, we need the finance. Who will give the finance to establish an industry? The government has to play a very important role in providing the financial facilities. So you remember, finance is the life and the blood of any industry. Yes or no? Finance only plays a very important role, because without finance, we cannot establish an industry. The amount of finance is required by industrial establishments to carry out their productive activity, it is called as industrial finance. So try to remember the amount of finance required by industrial establishments to carry out their production activity. They want to produce. How they produce the commodities? If the financial facilities are provided by the government, then only they can establish. Okay, the finance can be mobilized by the industrial concerns for investing in fixed and the working capital. What are this fixed and the working? Short-term and long-term capitals from different sources. So try to remember, the finance can be mobilized by the industrial concerns for investing in fixed and the working capital from different sources. Now we see the major sources of finance available in India. Okay, let us discuss the various sources from which industries meet their needs. The first one is internal self finance. Okay. One source quantitatively of a big importance is the saving of the unit itself. Okay. It may be the household, the business, or the government. So here, normally the household not only invest out of its own savings, but it also has surplus, okay, which it lends to other units, that is financial institutions like banks we can take in the capital market, etc. So this is one source for the industrial development. Okay. And the next we see equity debentures and the bonds. What are these equity debentures and the bonds? Shares, share market. That is, they'll start the business, a stock exchange. Shares, purchasing, buying and selling. Denomination starts from 10 rupees. Okay. Basically, the minimum is it starts from 10 rupees. So you can purchase the shares and debentures, and also you can, when the price increases, you can sell those shares and debentures or the bonds, whatever it may be. So that is also an important for industrial development. So try to remember, a large part of the finance for the fixed assets come from different types of this equity, debentures and the bonds. So these shares bear the risks of different degrees and are tailored to suit the temperament of different investors. Often industrial companies also get long-term finance through the issues of debentures and bonds. They'll get the long-term finance. So they can use that amount for industrial development. So try to remember about the first is about the self-finance, that is one source. And secondly, we said about the equity, debentures and the bonds for to get long-term finance through the issues of debentures and bonds. They can keep those bonds and they can take the loans and they can use that amount for development purpose. Got it? And then next we see the public deposits. This is another source, that is the public deposits. It is also a debt instrument, mostly for short-term finance. Okay. Under this system, people keep their money as deposit. What the public is doing, keeping the amount in the banks as fixed deposits or the deposit with these companies or managing authorities for a period of 6 months or a year or 2 years or 3 years, whatever it may be. So the depositors receive a fixed interest. So already you know about the banking system, like fixed deposit. We can deposit the amount for minimum 30 days, 1 year, 2 years, according to your uh, that is development. Okay, like how many years you can keep, and the deposits receive the fixed interest also. So more like for 2 years, now the 1 year or the 2 years, the interest rate will be the same. And you can use that interest amount. So try to remember, this is also another source for industrial development. Okay. And the next we see the loans from banks. So you know about the commercial banks. Okay, commercial banks, can provide the funds for meeting the short-term needs or for meeting the working capital. Loans are given against the guarantee of the government securities. Based on the government securities, what the people will give? Banks, loans will be given. Loans are given. And the even the companies also, they'll give the loans. So loans are advanced in the form of OD, that is overdraft, and the cash credit. OD also, suppose you have a fixed deposit of 1 lakh. So they'll keep that 1 lakh with the bank people, and they'll give the OD, how much you want. No, you have to keep that FD with the bank people. Okay. Then extra amount also they'll give by keeping that FD with them. Got it? So depositors, like what they'll do, the commercial banks are generally reluctant to put their money in the purchase of the shares. And what the commercial bank people will do, whatever we are depositing in their banks, they'll keep that money for buying the shares and the debentures. They'll invest that our amount only, they'll invest. Okay, so if they invest, what happens? They'll get the incomes. They'll buy the shares, they buy the debentures. Accordingly, they get the income. So try to remember that commercial banks, they'll put that amount, whatever we deposit now, in purchase of the shares, and it will be like provided to the industrial development. So is it clear? Loans from the banks, how they give the loans, and based on the guarantee, some security, common security must be there and the stock with the companies. Then only they'll get the benefits. And next you see the indigenous bankers. So this is also a source of industrial finance. So in spite of the establishment of this new financial institutions now, these indigenous bankers also provide the financial help to a few large scale industries. Now, if they want, these bankers they provide, particularly during the time of stress, or like if it is in crisis also, both for the fixed capital and also the working capital will be provided by the indigenous bankers. So this is also a source. Like for establishment, for the development of the industries now, how the so what is the source, you have to remember. So these indigenous bankers now, they provide the loans, financial help to the large scale industries. Got it? But mainly they provide the finance to small, like you can remember that large scale industries they provide, and also for the small scale industries also nowadays they are giving importance. So here, these industries have been forced to depend on these institutional finance. Okay, depend upon the indigenous bankers only, because very easy source for development of industries. And these banks now they charge very high rate of interest, and thus making finance a costly affair. Because these is very easy process now, people they'll approach these indigenous bankers only, the large scale industries for development, or for the small scale also. What they'll do, they'll take from indigenous bankers only, and also the interest now they charge very high rate of interest, and thus making a finance costly. So whatever it may be, the importance of these banks even as a source of finance for small industries, now it is on decline because of other financial institutions. So try to remember, before the large and the small scale industries they used to give, but the role for this small scale industries now, it has been to some extent reduced. And the next you can see the foreign capital. Why the foreign capital is needed? Because For development of industries, there is no other alternative in our economy, suppose. Then naturally we have to depend on other countries. Got it? So in here, in new industrial policy resolution, they gave importance to foreign direct investment. Foreigners, they can enter into our, they can invest their amount in our economy. So with those investments, we can increase the production. Okay. So here when they are investing in our multinational companies, what happens to the production? Increases. So here, when we are not in a sufficient, the whatever the sources we are, if it is insufficient, then naturally we have to depend on other countries. So what the other country people are doing? They are showing interest in investing in our multinational companies. They want to invest. They are ready to invest. Then with that amount, what we can do? We can invest that amount in our industries and we can develop the industries. With that, what happens? The production will increase. So when there is an increase in production, actually it's an index for development only. Our balance of payments also, our GDP especially increases. Okay. So try to remember the foreign capital is playing a very important role in development of industries. Okay. And next you can see the development finance institutions established with the help of the government to fill in the gap in the financial industrial finance and to promote the objective of planning. Okay. These institutions cater to the needs of large and the small industries. So mainly these developmental financial institutions are there. Okay. These institutions provide huge quantity of finance for setting up of new industries. If we want to establish a new industries, so these developmental financial finance institutions are especially meant for that purpose only. Okay. Huge quantity of financials will be provided. These institutions also ensure and monitor the use of finance in pre-planned directions. First, they'll take what is the purpose and how, what are you going to do in that. Okay, everything. They'll take the pre-planned directions and accordingly they'll sanction the loans. As such, they fit well with the modern scenario of industrial development. So try to remember the developmental financial institutions or the development of financial institutions plays a very important role in developing the industries. What they'll do? They provide the huge quantity of finances for setting up of new industries. Main aim is what? Providing the financial huge amount to develop the industries. So in that, you can see the important development banks, that is IDBI. You know about IDBI, that is Industrial Development Bank of India. In 1964, it was established. IDBI provides a credit and other facilities for industrial development in the country. It provides long-term finance for greenfield projects as also for modernization. If you want to modernize anything, expansion and also for the diversification purpose, what they'll do? They provide the financial facilities. And it has structured various products such as equipment, okay, finance, asset credit, corporate loans in order to cater to the needs of its corporate clients. So try to remember about the IDBI, that is in the year 1964 they started this bank mainly to provide the long-term finance. Okay, what is the purpose? Modernization, and also for the expansion, mainly they'll sanction these type uh, for development. And this bank will provide the loans. Got it? And the next is Industrial Finance Corporation of India. In 1948, they started this bank. Okay, and its operations principally comprise of project finance, financial services, corporate advisory services through its subsidiary or the companies. IFCI provides the custodial and investor services, rating, and the venture capital services. So this is also an institution where it provides a credit facility, financial facilities to the people for those who are interested in establishing an industry. And the next one, we see the ICICI. You know what is ICICI? It is Industrial Credit and Investment Corporation of India. ICICI. ICICI plays a facilitating role in consolidation of various sectors of the Indian industry by financing mergers and the acquisitions. Okay, and here mainly they provide for the that is um, about the group financing and the banking operations. Na? Like ICICI Bank, na, they'll provide the both the wholesale and the retail, and have integrated into a single company. That is, they merged it in from May 2002. Okay, ICICI for the investment purpose only. They started this bank. That is, they provide the loans. And the next is Industrial Investment Bank of India. It offers a variety of financial products such as project finance, short duration, non-project asset-backed financing, and the working capital and other short-term loans to the companies. Okay, this is also a development finance institution. And then next, we see the infrastructure development. You know what is infrastructure? That is development of transport, irrigation, power, banking, all that is known as infrastructure. So Infrastructure Development Finance Company Limited, IDFC, plays a very important role in development of this infrastructure. So 1997, they started this as a specialized institution, okay, to facilitate the flow of private finance to commercially viable infrastructure projects through the innovative products and also the processes. So the energy, telecommunications, information technology, integrated transportation, urban infrastructure, and food and the agro business infrastructure constitute the current areas of operation measures for IDFC. So remember about this Infrastructure Development Finance Company Limited. This is also one of the source for industrial development. And the next you can see the Small Industries Development Bank of India, that is SIDBI. Okay, it offers refinance, bill rediscounting, lines of credit, and resource support mechanism to route assistance to SSI sector, that is small scale industries, through a work of banks and also the state level financial institutions. This is also a very important bank, and it offers the direct finance for meeting the specific requirements of SSI sectors. So remember, it undertakes a wide range of promotional and also the developmental measures for rural poor. So you can remember the developmental financial institutions: IDBI, IFCI, ICICI, IIBI, IDFC, and SIDBI. So try to remember overall, if you see in industrial development, which one is an apex bank? So for the industrial development purpose, IDBI is an apex bank. Remember that. Whereas in agriculture sector, NABARD is an apex bank. What is NABARD? National Bank for Agriculture and Rural Development. In 1982, it was established. So for like you can remember, for agriculture sector, that is providing the financial institutions, NABARD take the responsibility. It is an apex bank. Whereas if you want to establish an industry, so what is apex bank in this? IDBA. So in the year 1964, it has been started mainly to provide the financial facilities for industrial development only. Like in our overall, if you see what is an apex bank in our economy, that is RBI, Reserve Bank of India. So for agriculture, one bank, for industry, another bank, and overall, that is Reserve Bank of India. In which year it was established? In 1935. And in which year it was nationalized? 1949. Okay, established in 35 and nationalized in 1949. So about the banks, you should have an idea. And how many banks were nationalized, in which year it was nationalized, how many banks were nationalized, all that you have to remember. So mainly here, the purpose is what? For industrial development. How, what are the sources you are going to remember? Which bank? Indigenous bankers and developmental financial institutions. So these are the institutions are there where what they'll do? They provide the financial facilities to the people for establishment of industries. So finance plays a very important role. Yes or no? Because finance is the life and the blood of any industry. Okay, finance is the life and the blood of any industry. So the amount of finance which is required for industrial establishment to carry out the production activity, we call it as industrial finance. Without that, we cannot develop the industries. So overall, you can remember the summary of this, that economic reforms brought foreign competition in the industrial scenario, led to the privatization of the certain public sector industries, opened up sectors hitherto reserved for the public sector, and led to an expansion in the production of fast-moving consumer goods. The textile industry is a second largest source of employment for agriculture. Then information technology is also one of the fastest growing sectors, contributing how much? To 1/3 of the total output of services. So the growth of IT sector nowadays, it's giving IT sector is booming. It's attributing to increase the specialization, availability of a large pool of low cost, highly skilled and educated and the fluent English speaking workers around the country. So even you can see that the major sub industries like textiles, chemicals, food processing, sugar, steel, transportation equipment, cement, mining, petroleum, machinery, software, all this comes under how much it is contributing to India's GDP. That is also very important. 18% it is contributing. India's GDP and employs 19% of the labor force. So with the launch of Make in India initiative, Sri Narendra Modi, the Prime Minister of India, aims at giving global recognition to the Indian economy. Okay. And also place India on the world map as a manufacturing hub. So remember how much importance we are giving to industrial sector, because in order to develop our economy, we need the industrial development. Before that, only just we have given importance to agriculture sector. Do you think that if only importance is given to agriculture sector, will our economy develops? It will not develop. Because we have seen the 70% of the population used to depend only on the agriculture sector. If 70% of the population depends on agriculture sector, we cannot develop our economy. Got it? The first 5-year plan also, they have given importance to only agriculture sector. So giving importance only to agriculture sector, we cannot develop our economy. So simultaneously, even the Hans Singer also stated that a shift has to take place, a structural change has to take place from agriculture sector to industrial sector, and from industrial sector to service sector. Change compulsory, structural changes has to take place. So here, the second 5-year plan, that is PC Mahalanobis, he has given importance to industries must be developed. He has given importance to industries. So when industries develops only, it increases our production and also provides employment opportunities, and also it contributes to GDP. Okay. And simultaneously, what is the next thing? The service sector. Service sector, that is communication. All basically you can see the infrastructure. Now fast, that is you can see the infrastructure facilities, the development of transport, the irrigation, okay, banks, everything has modernized. So some changes are taking place to develop our economy. Development of an economy is very important. Got it? We are underdeveloped before, but now all the changes are taking place, that the technological changes are undertaken. Many things, many changes have grown up. How? With the technology only. So nowadays, technology is playing a very important role. Got it? So try to remember, giving importance only to agriculture sector, we cannot achieve economic development. So industries must be developed. During British rule also, they didn't give much importance, was not given to small scale industries. Only to one sector they gave importance. So what they have done? They have taken all our wealth. That is, drain theory was there. Dadabhai Nauroji, he stated the wealth from our country they have taken for the payment of what is that dividends to the shareholders. All that amount they have used for their own benefits only. They have used it. They didn't give any importance to our economy. They don't want to develop our country. They have used all our wealth for their own development. They didn't give any importance to our economy. Okay, so industries development is a must. All type of industries must be developed, because with establishment of one industry, what happens? They'll get an opportunity to work in that industry. Employment opportunities it provides. Some lakhs people, they'll get an opportunity to work in that industry. So if they are getting an opportunity, they can survive. They'll get their incomes. If they get their incomes, they can increase the standard of living. When a person's standard of living increases, when he has the money only, his standard of living will increase. If he is not having the money, there is a question of increasing his standard of living. He will be under low level only. See the laborers, how much they are struggling, how much they are working hard. They are putting their efforts. Why they are in that position? Because uneducated they are. They don't have the educational skills. So here try to remember, only the education can make a change in our lives. Education is the source and the solution for all our problems. So try to remember that people must have the skills to work in that particular industry. Without having the skills, we cannot work, will not get an opportunity itself. So if you know the things, the web design in computer, if you can see that web designing, they'll give work to, they will assign the work for you to do that. So when you don't have that skills, you lose the opportunity. So you have to learn this. You should update your skills. According to technological things, you have to update. So if you get an opportunity, automatically you will be selected and you will get a job. You can survive. So try to remember, So in the same manner that industries plays a very important, because it produces, no doubt, it produces the goods, the commodities, what we require. We are all the consumers. We have to consume the goods. When producers are not producing the goods, who are going to consume the goods? Okay. So producers have to produce according to the taste of the consumers. That is also important. Whatever you want to produce, na, like whatever they want to produce, if they are producing in that manner, what is the use if people are not purchasing those? If there is no demand for those products, then naturally they have to suffer. So they have to see the taste and the habits of the consumers, and accordingly what they have to do, they have to manufacture only those commodities. So for that purpose, what is required here? Finance is required, because they have to invest that amount, the capital, in those industries. When we don't have the capital, what the people are doing, they are importing the capital from other countries. Okay, so when we are importing the foreign capital from other countries, naturally we can use that amount for industrial development. Okay, even the multinational companies development also, and again that is a new industrial policy resolution also, they have given that foreigners that directly they can invest. So with that, industries are developing. So try to remember, these are the sources. If you want to establish a large scale industry or the small scale industries, whatever the industries, we need the finance. Finance is a life, it's a blood of development. Without finance, we cannot develop anything. So remember the sources for industrial development. What are the banks, development banks and other indigenous bankers are there, where they provide the loans for industrial development. Okay. Thank you very much.